Around 2.2 million more people will be given the right to request with the right to request flexible working under UK government plans for an overhaul of the workplace. It comes amid continuing concerns over household budgets, with more energy companies going bust. Of course, we're seeing rising gas prices. Well, let's speak to the UK government's Minister for Small Business, Consumers and the Labour Market, Paul Scully. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
So how will this work in terms of requesting flexible working if your employer perhaps doesn't agree?
Well, first of all, I mean, we think that, too many people these days think the only thing about flexible working is working from home. Because of the pandemic, there's so much more to it than that. Maybe a slight change in hours at the beginning of the day, the end of the day. Might be about job shares. It might be about phased retirement if you're older. And it's basically, so you have a day one right to request it. Now, clearly, not every workplace is going to be suitable for any or all of those sort of things. So that's why you need a sense of balance within it.
Well, who provides that balance if it's a small business and the owner doesn't feel as though the request is reasonable?
Yeah. Well, an employer can say no, but they have to give reasons why they do that. And if it's unreasonable, then employees can clearly take action through tribunals if they think they're being unfairly penalised as a result of that.
But what rights are you affording them? If you give them the right to request flexible working and the employer says no, what actual rights are you affording them?
Well, what this is doing, this is actually helping to build those conversations in, because for employers, I used to employ people myself. If you actually have a degree of flexibility, you allow people to build their working day and patterns around childcare, around other caring issues, around their lifestyle, which actually makes them more productive in the first place. But what it also does, it allows a greater diversity of the workplace. It allows people to come into the workplace possibly for the first time. I think those are the things that we really want to make sure that employers are getting around. This isn't bashing employers, but neither is it giving the carte blanche to employees. It's a balanced approach that we believe will work best. But it's a consultation, so we want to get those views in from both employers and trade unions and representative organisations.
You're responsible for small businesses. We've seen several of the smaller energy companies go bust. More could be in the pipeline. Will the government bail any of these companies out?
No, look, what we are concentrating on is making sure that we have the continuity of supply, and that Ofgem have a well tried and tested way of doing that by moving people into a different supplier, a supplier of last resort, which the consumer doesn't need to do anything. That will be done for them. Although I would suggest, if you're affected by that, take a meter reading, maybe take a photo of your meter to be able to help you with that.
And prepare for higher bills.
And well, the second thing as well that we're working on is protection in terms of prices as well. Now, we know it's going to be a hard winter. We know it's going to be difficult for energy and a number of issues across the next few weeks and months. But we have the energy price cap, which remains in place. It's continuing to protect millions of people
and rises
from sudden increases in global gas prices. Well, it's next year. The Ofgem will look at that, but it remains in place as is now. So if people are affected by it, the energy price cap will be there for them at this moment in time. We also
But it doesn't protect those who are with these smaller companies. If you have a lower tariff with these smaller companies and you move to a lender of last resort, and the lender of last resort doesn't offer those cheaper tariffs, your bills will go up.
Well, what we can't do clearly is guarantee, a discounted tariff, which is unsustainable. Which is, clearly why those, in most cases, why those companies are leaving the market. But what it does do, it puts a cap on what people can reasonably expect to pay. But we also have the Warm Homes discount, which is very targeted at those people who are the lowest paid in society. People on certain aspects of pension credits, and as I say, low paid. And we also have the seasonal cold weather payments to help that protection in prices.
In May 2016, in the Sun newspaper, Boris Johnson and Michael Gove, as leaders of the Vote Leave campaign, told people fuel bills will be lower for everyone if they vote for Brexit. They were wrong, weren't they?
No, I think what you're looking at is I've heard this over the last few days. It's
That's a
conflating
direct
two
quote.
different things.
Fuel bills will be lower for everyone. And here
Yeah,
we
but
are in a
what I'm
position
saying
where
is
that's not the case.
It's conflating two slightly different things, because Brexit is a long-term process, a long-term change. What we're finding at the moment is particular pressures at this moment in time.
So
that's
when will
great.
fuel bills be lower for
this is
everyone as a result of Brexit then,
Well, this is a
Minister?
global issue. This isn't a UK issue.
I understand that, but when will fuel bills be lower for everyone as a result of Brexit, which is what was promised by the Prime Minister, Michael Gove?
What Brexit in general gives us is a greater flexibility to make our own decisions, both in energy supply, in approaches to prices, in the approaches to supporting companies and sectors and these kind of things. But what we're facing at the moment, what your consumers, your listeners that are consumers will be concentrating on at the moment, is what's happening in the global spike. That's partly down to increased demand in Asia. Yes, there is a local issue because we had an interconnector in Ashford in Kent on fire the other day, which has interrupted some supply. But fortunately, we are able to diversify our supply, investing in renewables, including in Scotland.
The website Apex Spot, which provides data on energy markets in Europe, shows that energy auction prices are considerably higher in the UK compared to the rest of the continent.
Well, so we're investing in diversifying our supply. I mean, all of these issues show that it's really important to do exactly that, to have greater offshore wind, to make sure that we can reduce our reliance on imported energy, reduce our reliance on fossil fuels as well. So we're already in a state where we have nearly 50% domestically sourced fuel, another 30% from Norway, which is a good partner for us, and so we are increasing that percentage.
There are global issues, but Brexit is an issue here, isn't it? Because the UK is elected to remain outside the EU internal energy market, even though a considerable amount of the country's energy needs are met by Europe. That means the UK has lost significant control over prices, losing the ability to participate in the energy auctions that determine the costs of fuel.
No, what we have was we have control over the diversification of fuel. We have the control over what we are doing about the situation at the moment, and what we are doing about it is to ensuring that anybody that's affected by this has continuity of supply through Ofgem's well tried and tested scheme, and we have the price cap, we have the warm home discount, but nonetheless, I'm not underestimating the scale of the problem, which is why the Secretary of State has been in pretty well back-to-back conversations with Ofgem and with the energy companies over last weekend and throughout this week.
Well, just one last chance to tell people when fuel bills will be lower for everyone. When will that likely happen?
Well, look, if I knew the cost of fuel in the future, I'd be a futures trader.
Well, Boris Johnson and Michael Gove seem to be able to predict it in 2016.
No, but they were talking about underlying conditions. What you can't talk about is the fluctuating futures price of wholesale markets. That's one of the reasons why every energy company hedges. That's why every energy company buys forward, buys their gas prices for months to come, because the prices do fluctuate. What Michael Gove and Boris Johnson were talking about then is prices becoming lower because we have greater flexibility.
But you just don't know
here
when.
In the UK. That's an underlying argument, one that's frankly been done and dusted, and we've got past that referendum debate. But what we're now looking at is to making sure that we can smooth effects on people, of consumers here in the here.
Well,
and now.
those with higher bills may not feel they're past it. But Paul Scully, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us, the UK Government's Minister for Small Business, Consumers and Labour Markets.
And that's it from us this morning. Thank you for being with Good Morning Scotland, and thanks from Gary and I. Thanks to the good GMS team, and we're going to hand over on the theme of energy to Stephen. Lots to talk about.
Thank you both. You've teed this up very nicely for us this morning. Thank you. Back with us